I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. We are continuing in the Gospels, and largely what we've been reading recently is Christ's teachings to the apostles, preparing them for his death and resurrection, for when he will no longer be with them. We've entered the last 6 months of his mortal life, starting with the Mount of Transfiguration event. That happened about 6 months before the crucifixion. And now he's been preparing his apostles, trying to get them to understand what's going to be happening and getting them ready for it. Now, he's still doing some miracles. He's still teaching the people, but it is largely teaching just the apostles at this time. In our last 2 readings, the primary thing we read was, if your hand or foot or eye offend thee, cast them away. And this is, get rid of those people, or do not associate with those people who would drag you down to hell with them. That's what we read last. We pick it up now in Matthew. In this video, we have a Joseph Smith translation. Now, what the Joseph Smith translation is, this is a translation or correction done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that have been lost or corrupted over the years. Matthew chapter 18, verses 23 through 35. Therefore is the kingdom of heaven likened unto a certain king, which would take account of his servants. And when he had begun to reckon, one was brought unto him, which owed him 10,000 talents. But forasmuch as he had not to pay, his Lord commanded him to be sold, and his wife and children, and all that he had, and payment to be made. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the Lord of that servant was moved with compassion, and loosed him, and forgave him the debt. But the same servant went out, and found one of his fellow servants, which owed him 100 pence. And he laid hands on him, and took him by the throat, saying, Pay me that thou owest. And his fellow servant fell down at his feet, and besought him, saying, Have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. And he would not, but went and cast him into prison till he should pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what was done, they were very sorry, and came and told unto their Lord all that was done. Then his Lord, after that he had called him, said unto him, O thou wicked servant, I forgave thee all that debt, because thou desirest me. Shouldest not thou also have had compassion on thy fellow servant, even as I had pity on thee? And his Lord was wroth, and delivered him to the tormentors, till he should pay all that was due unto him. So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also to you, if ye from your hearts forgive not every one his brother their trespasses. So I'm pretty sure I got this back right. I should have done Mark and then done this whole part of Matthew next, because this is coming directly after in Matthew, where Christ said to forgive 70 times 7 times. And then he gives this parable. This is known as the parable of the unjust servant. And this is to illustrate what is meant by forgiving others, and why we need to forgive. And the footnotes, it says that 100 pence is approximately 3 months' wages for your average worker. And one talent, it doesn't state this in the footnotes, but I'm pretty sure that 1 talent would have been approximately, or would have been a couple of years' salary for your average worker. And so 10,000 talents. So if you're making, in the modern day, 3 months would be $8,000 or $9,000. If we take the average wage in the United States and say it's $50,000 a year, approximately, I'm guesstimating here, and a single talent is, say, 5 years' wages, that is $250,000 for 1 talent. He owed 10,000 talents. So we had another 4 zeros on there. 250,000, that's 8 zeros, that is $2.5 trillion. Now, my numbers are probably off a bit there, but you get the point. You get the point. Our offenses to each other, if somebody offends us, does something against us to harm us, it is minuscule to our own offenses towards God. It doesn't really matter what they did exactly. It pales in comparison in the eternities. So we owe a debt to God of $1 billion, and he is willing to forgive it because we ask him. Should we not then be willing to forgive others when they owe us a couple thousand? Remember that God has, because of the atonement, God has already forgiven everybody. The price of sin has been paid for everybody. It is all, the balance sheet is already balanced. Whatever anybody does to us, Christ has already paid the price. So if we're not willing to forgive, we are saying that we don't want Christ's atonement to apply to that person. In essence, we are saying that we want that person condemned. In the process of editing this video, I realized that I had not read the Joseph Smith translation. So let us look at it. In verse 23, we change which to who, and in verse 24, we change which to who. But 26 and 27 are interesting. This is what it says in the Joseph Smith translation. And the servant besought him, saying, Lord, have patience with me, and I will pay thee all. Then the Lord of the servant was moved with compassion, and loosed him, and forgave him the debt. The servant therefore fell down and worshipped him. Remember, in a previous parable, Christ asked, a creditor forgives two debtors, which one will love him most? The one to whom he forgave most. And we see the same thing kind of here. He says, I will pay thee all, but the debt is forgiven. And it's after the debt is forgiven that the servant falls down and worships his Lord. Because it is after the act of kindness that he feels the love and compassion of his Lord. The worship isn't there to gain favor. It is a reaction to the love of God. We worship God because he loves us. But that is all of the Joseph Smith translation for this portion. I'm going to leave that here, and we pick this up next in a combined video of multiple Gospels. So we're actually going to do the next 3 videos are all combined, so I will see you there.